Hey, yo, what's good, man? It's your host, Cleve. Welcome to the Third Coast Podcast with my man,
Joe. What it do, Gators?
What it do, man? It's your host, Cleve. Third Coast Podcast.
Joe, what it do, Gators? Joe, what it do, Gators? Twisted Metal. What's your first, when I say Twisted Metal, what are you thinking?
Instantly, like, whenever I think of Twisted Metal, I think of the iconic Sweet Tooth. You know, the guy who drove the ice cream truck.
Yeah.
But he wore a clown mask, and in, like, some of the earlier series, he had hair. But in, I know for sure in Twisted Metal Black, the preacher, like, a little bit of the backstory that I know, like, the preacher was a playable character in the game. He put a curse on Sweet Tooth to make his hair, like, or to make his head, you know, fire burning from all the people that he had murdered. He could hear the screams of their souls in hell, and in some sick way that satisfied him. So, like, mainly it's like, you know, I think of that character because he was, like, kind of cynical in the theme of the apocalyptic world next to Calypso.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Calypso is like the final boss. He's like over the game. So
Yeah.
I was a big fan of the Twisted Metal series.
He had like a nuclear weapon or something. Like he was a big, like nuclear deterrent fucking rocket launcher shooting final boss and stuff. But the reason why I brought it up is because I had just now watched the new TV series they came out with on Peacock.
Yeah.
About it, and I thought it'd be a cool episode to touch on. And I had watched the show, and being a gamer, that's a hard thing to do, to see like someone go on and want to reproduce a game to a TV show, because with Halo they fucked it all up.
I think with
Lack of
Twisted
better
Metal
terms.
they did pretty good.
Oh,
actually.
no,
Yeah,
it's great.
They did fairly well. I was surprised, actually. It made me go back and look at some of the old gameplay that I used to, you know, incorporate in, and like some of the old bosses, and like how some of the other characters were affected. You know, there's like at least over 12 to 13 characters on each game.
Yeah, there's a lot. Like I pulled up and got some of the more common ones through the game.
Yeah, I like
some
the
of the
main
bigger
draw,
names.
like with Sweet Tooth and Outlaw. They had Shadow, I believe, which is Darkseid's. Can't think of the name right now.
Darkseid. Were you in DC world right now?
No, Darkseid was it was the cab driver. Like they drove an 18-wheeler cab. It was like all black, and you could like mow down shit. Like it had like a rail guard on the front of it, and then Sweet Tooth drove like an ice cream truck. Spectre drove a Viper, which is like I think a Corvette.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like Mr. Grimm was like a Vietnam veteran. He drove a motorcycle with like the buggy on the side of it. It's like he'll throw like one of his special moves like that. So Spectre's was a rocket. Sweet Tooth had like an ice cream bomb. Like it was pretty cool. Like how all of that incorporated like into the gameplay as a kid. I don't know how I would feel about it now as an adult. Like I'll play it for the nostalgia most definitely. It's like, man, I used to get down with this. It's like
I used to think that the graphics were a hell of a lot better. Like in my memory, I thought they were like phenomenal, but when I was going back to do the clips for the sound pad, I was like, oh, the graphics a little rough around the edges, but in my memory they look way better.
Look a lot better than your memory.
I don't know if that's just like technology advancing so fast and like the visual arts of technology or what.
The common arts of visual technology is only displayed via video game programming, where underground video gamers would create their own consoles. They would create their own game streamlines.
Yeah.
And they had like a pure network. It's like when PlayStation was first starting out, they were an underground network until they got like legitimately, patented with Sony and things like that, and just climbing up the ladders of the the technological advances that goes into graphic designing. But yeah, I remember the graphics like on PS2 whenever Twisted Metal 3,
Yeah.
Twisted Metal 4, Black came out. It was all pristine. And pretty much just with the whole storyline behind it and how the TV series ties into it, you know, I think they did pretty well matching the characters. I did notice that they used voiceovers, which I
Yeah.
thought that honestly, like that's a cool element being behind like the whole theme of it is chaotic. Building the game was chaotic. Them trying to pass on a series and they passed a lot of games and some got canceled, I heard.
Oh yeah. There's
I didn't know that.
yeah. There's been a few games canceled through the process making and stuff. But when it comes to like Twisted Metal itself as like a game, Twisted Metal is a series of vehicular combat video games published by Sony Computer Entertainment and developed by various companies. The series has appeared on the PlayStation, PlayStation 2. It says PlayStation Portable, but that's from my understanding is the PSP, right?
Yeah, the PSP.
I love the PSP was a fucking like my favorite technology. It was like
It's like a Game Boy, but the PSP
just like
version of it.
you
The
could
quality, the advances.
buying all the little movies and stuff with it. It
yeah, you
was
could
great.
watch TV on it.
And the PlayStation 3. As of October 31st, 2000, the series has sold 5 million copies. Several of the games in the series were re-released, of course, because that's what everybody does is re-release stuff. And as part of the Sony's Great Hits program, the original game and its first sequel were also released for the PC. And in concept, Twisted Metal is a demolition derby that emphasizes the uses of ballistic projectiles, machine guns, mines, and other types of weapons, up to and not including satellite-based weapons and nuclear weapons. Players choose a vehicle and an arena, or a series of arenas in the story mode, to engage in battles with opposing drivers. A various of weapons and upgrades are attainable by picking up scattered throughout stages. The last driver alive is the winner. The list of games that have came out for Twisted Metal is the original Twisted Metal in 1995.
I remember that one. Owned it.
Twisted Metal 2 in 1996.
Both were on PlayStation 1, or what would be known as PlayStation 1. Back then, it was just
OG.
PlayStation. Yeah, PlayStation, then Xbox came out shortly after, but let's get into this Twisted Metal.
Twisted Metal 3 in 1998. And Twisted Metal 4, 1999.
It's PS2 days.
Yep, and then Twisted Metal Black, which is probably their biggest one in my opinion, and the best game out of all of them in 2001. And then Twisted Metal Head On in 2005, and Twisted Metal Head On Extra Brawl in 2001. Then Twisted Metal Black Online. I didn't even know they had that.
Yeah, they had it online in 2002
That's
whenever they were
crazy.
trying to release their first broadband online service.
That's
Yeah.
probably around the time Xbox,
Yeah,
because
Xbox was
I
doing the
used to
same
play
thing.
online on the original Xbox on dial-up internet. You would have to plug. I remember I bought and worked at McDonald's for like my wage was like 5 something an hour, right?
Yeah.
And I saved up to buy that wireless thing that you put on the back of the Xbox 360, and it was like $120, right?
Right.
So I didn't have to have no cords or nothing.
In
to go-
today's age, that would be like $250, $300 easy.
Yeah, it was wild. Like, but gaming's came such a long way, and it's kind of sad though that I'm getting through like all these old numbers. I wish there was another Twisted Metal game, but who knows?
The originality of the Twisted Metal series, you know, it comes from a comic book line when other comic books were popular, but they were more so the underdog trying to create a new line of comics based around, demolition, apocalyptic destruction with, different main characters with different backstories, and just like a lot of the plot of the whole series and the moral of it is be careful what you wish for. And I like that theme about the game because, like, in the competition, the players, they compete against each other to be number one, to get their number one desire granted, or Calypso helps them fulfill one desire of their destiny of what they're trying to correct in their life. Like, one girl spilled coffee. I think, Darkseid spilled coffee on, like, one of the merchant's papers, so he, like, nailed her face shut and, like, put a mask on it and locked it with a special key that only one of them exists. And at the end of it, it's like, humility, it wears on the person versus, like, different storylines and stuff. Like, Mr. Grimm was a personal favorite because he was a Vietnam vet. He got trapped in basically, like, all his platoon got shot by the enemy. He was the only one left. He got captured, thrown in a hole with his wounded best friend. And the general of the Vietnamese army was instructing that his only way of survival is to eat. And he dropped the knife in the hole, and he started laughing and he left. So it kind of, like, plays on the psychological factor.
Oh, yeah.
So,
like this.
Yeah, Mr. Grimm. Oh, go ahead. But yeah, Mr. Grimm, he was dropped in a hole with him, and 2 days later, his comrade died. So it's like, it was then whenever he was like, hunger has a desire to take over the human body, and he ended up consuming the man, like, practicing cannibalism. It goes into a darker story. It's like he acquired a taste for the taste of that afterwards, and to get revenge on the guy that made him lose his mind while he was in the hole. He was rescued like 2 weeks after, but 2 weeks after, he was too far gone because of what he had already done. He, like, murdered like 6 innocent people on the way to the asylum.
Oh yeah, the Twisted Metal series is a very dark and demonic look on just video games in general, especially a lot of the backstories. I don't know, it's crazy, but I know a lot of, like, the newer listeners out there, y'all might think they're probably hearing these dates like 1998, 2005, 2020. They weren't even alive then probably, but if y'all are watching the new TV series, Anthony Mackie is playing John Doe in the series. Stephanie Beatrice is playing Quiet. What Cleve had brought up earlier about them doing voiceovers on the on the TV show is Samoan Joe, who's a wrestler, is doing the actual, like, all the acting as Sweet Tooth, but the voiceover, because Sweet Tooth wears a mask, is actually Will Arndt. He's the voice of Sweet Tooth. Then you got Thomas Hayden Church, who is Agent Stone, which is, when I was watching the TV series and them setting up their own, like, little government, and, like, you get to, like, episode 2. I hope I don't spoil this for people, but they have, like, this DMV thing set up, and this girl's like, no, it's the DMV. In a post-apocalyptic world, there's still the DMV. That's crazy. That's one of the worst things that we deal with now.
Right. Oh, yeah, and can't forget about Thomas Hayden, Thomas Hayden Church as Agent Stone, which is Outlaw. Outlaw was like a cop. He has a backstory. Like, he served in the FBI unit, and he was on a special ops mission, rescuing some hostages. But the first round he allowed his anger to consume him, and he ended up raining hell on the old building, killed like a mother and a child. And all he could remember from that was the bloodstained teddy bear. So Calypso, to jog his memory on, like, his number one desire was to go back to that moment to correct the situation, what went wrong in the hostage situation. But in the game, the outcome of that was, like, he goes back, like, he wins the competition, he goes back, he's in the hostage situation, he downs the guy, But then a guy gets on the walkie to confirm while he's bleeding out. He aims the gun, shoots Agent Stone in the head, and the game is over with. So it's like
Damn.
one big fuck you at the end, because it's like you did all of that just to sacrifice yourself in the end because you didn't get the guy that you were getting in the beginning.
You know what's crazy too is everybody calls Sweet Tooth. You know, they think that was how it actually started, but in the video game, he starts as Charlie Kane, an old and lonely cab driver in the streets of New York, and he has entering Calypso's contest to learn what happened to his son, a young man who disappeared 20 years ago. That's from like the original game. That's like the story of him, and then
Right.
he changes throughout the games into Needle Kane.
Yeah,
He is the main protagonist and trademark character of Twisted Metal series, notable for his flaming head and appearing in every Twisted Metal game to date. Driving Sweet Tooth, he has had many different looks. The first of which he had green hair and face paint. Then he transitioned to a signature flaming hair. He then proceeded to wear a mask strapped to his face, which first appeared in Twisted Metal Black. He also is the leader of the Clowns, a playable faction in Twisted Metal 2012.
Yeah, I remember that.
Often referred as Sweet Tooth, Needle Kane is an insane killer clown who drives an ice cream truck. His face is seen on the cover of every Twisted Metal game. His character has gone through many different designs and variations. He is also mostly tied with his own characters in the series. Sweet Tooth is also the most colorful character. He's dressed like a circus clown and has a colorful vehicle with designs that match that of local circus clowns. He prides himself in being the best serial killer of all time and will stop at nothing to make sure his title remains intact. In some of the incarnations, he is a great love for ice cream and frozen treats. He keeps them in the back of his ice cream truck along with the various killing weapons and bodies of his unfortunate victims.
That is correct. Catching them bodies in that old cream truck. Yeah, got
That
that
shit
old cream
creepy.
truck
Yeah.
rolling up on the block. Just imagine you just pull up smiling, asking your kids what they want, only for you to come back out to call them and you get, ooh, hey, that's tough though. Yeah, like in the game, he caught at least 37 bodies.
Oh, and he's so hard to kill too in some of them games.
Like he was actually the leader in one of the games. I forget which one you had named. I'd have to go back and look.
You
It was
remember?
after, I think it was Twisted Metal 4 actually.
It's either Twisted Metal 4 or Twisted Metal 3 where you have to go and fight him in a carnival. And you have to fight him on like a carnival ride and stuff. And he is so hard to kill.
Yeah, he fast. Yeah, because he got Calypso's ring. Because I think he went after him in 3, and then Calypso came back in 4 and took his ring back. But in Twisted Metal Black, Sweet to return the favor and like took his head off. It's like Calypso had granted him the vial that would cure his curse.
Yeah.
And then he was like, well, what's the use anyway? Sometimes we have to make sacrifices. Plus, I always wanted to kill you anyway.
Go.
And proceeded to cut his throat. Yeah, it was pretty brutal, though. It's like, man, they got it on YouTube. You can look it up. Like, if you're not into, like, if you don't know anything about the games, they have gameplay. They have clips. They have a, background. I'm pretty sure they have people, like, giving their commentary.
They have clips like this.
I'll make you shiver when I deliver.
Oh.
I had to figure out how I could put that one in there.
Right? Yeah, that slid in real nice. Pun not intended.
Oh no!
And then just to soften that up a little bit, he pulling up.
Someone's gonna listen to this and be like, "What are they doing over there at
It
Third
sound like
Coast?"
the ops. Yeah, it sound like the ops pulling up. It's like people gonna get that in their heads. Like, man, this man come to kill me. He ain't come to sell me no treats.
Oh, you had brought up earlier about how there was some games that they were in the process of making, but ended up getting canceling.
Right.
Okay, so games canceled in the Twisted Metal series. There was a game that was in production called Twisted Metal Harbor City, and it got canceled. Twisted Metal Apocalypse, it also got canceled. And Twisted Metal Revolution, it got canceled. But they did have comic books out there, and they did have a special unique comic for Twisted Metal 2. So this comic book was published by DC Comics in 1996, right?
DC, yeah, it was DC.
Written by Jamie Delone, penciled by Philip Hester, and inked by Peter Gross. The comic was given out as a prize in a promotional contest held at Tips and Tricks magazine. The Twisted Metal is a post-apocalyptic so
It's like an action comedy.
Yeah, so I don't know, the TV series, like the generic thing for the TV series that's out there right now is Twisted Metal video game that's out there. It's streamed on Peacock. It started on the July 27, 2023 during the impressive heat wave we're having. But I digress. Twisted Metal is a half-hour live action TV series based on the classic PlayStation game series. It is a high-octane action comedy based on the original take by Rhett Reese and Paul Wicknick, and written by Michael Jonathan Smith, about a motor-mounted outsider offering the chance of a better life, but only if he can succeed in driving this mystery package across a post-apocalyptic wasteland. With the help of a badass axe-wielding car thief, he faces savage marauders driving vehicles of destruction and other dangers of the open road, including a deranged clown who drives an all too familiar ice cream truck. Okay, I'm going to shut up after this one thing, Cleve. I want to talk about my personal favorite character throughout the series. And I know I have a whole bunch on here, but Axel, the dude that he was tied between two big-ass wheels.
Yeah, his dad, like, strapped him to the machine itself, and he was strapped there for, like, 30 years. Yeah, like, Axel was... not to put it out there, he was the only black character in the game, and like his special move was like a shockwave. Like he just sit like this post that like flip cars.
Yeah,
it takes like half. It was actually overpowered if you knew how to use it right.
Yeah, when you unlocked them, it was
when
great.
You unlocked it, and then you had add the speed boost to it. Yeah, you could take players out with that. Just those two combinations alone, if you knew how to play with them. But more so like. Yeah, Axel was badass. Like, that's what's up, though. But, yeah, there's, like, a whole list of them. Like, you mentioned Charlie Kane. There was Mr. Ash, like a strange creature born in the depths of hell. No one sure why he entered the contest. I think Mr. Ash is Minion, which is one of the bosses that you have to defeat. But then you got Bruce.
It says that on another one. I think in the series, like, characters develop into other characters, too.
Right, yeah, like over the series, like some of the characters ended up changing like into different names, different characters and modes, and there was like a whole transitional period for the Twisted Metal series. But yeah, there was Bruce Cochran, a passionate kid from the streets of LA. He got his one last shot of taking his neighborhood out of the war zone. I forget exactly who Bruce Cochran is though. If it's a roadkill maybe.
Yeah.
But then you got Carl Roberts, a good cop in the world gone mad. He's entered a contest in hopes of forcing Calypso to put an end to Twisted Metal once and for all. Carl Roberts was the original outlaw in the Twisted Metal series. He drove like a cop car, and he had like, I forget what his special was. I didn't really play with him for the obvious reasons, but, but for the most part.
Crispy fried punk!
Yeah, old crispy fried punk over there just flashing them damn lights and dropping them old missiles. Like, yeah, his special was a fucking weak-ass missile, so I was like, fuck that, man. I'd rather play with Mr. Grimm, a collector of sorts. Tonight, he would claim one item that has excluded that has eluded him for years, which is souls. And because of that, it's like his special is like a skull head. In one series, I think it was like Twisted Metal 1 or 2, it's just he threw a flaming skull head, take like half damage. Yeah, it's like in other games, like he had like a missile or a rocket, or I think in Twisted Metal Black he had a scythe.
Was Mr. Grimm the one that that drove the hearse?
Nah, he drove the motorcycle with the skull on his head.
Oh, okay.
That skull is from the guy in the story that I told you from Vietnam. Like, he ended up taking his skull and like putting it over his head. And whenever he went to the asylum, like, he killed 4 people for trying to like take it off. So they just left it on him. But yeah, there was also Commander Mason, aka Warthog. Commander Mason is working for the U.S. government. He is hoping Calypso can help him retrieve an item so powerful it could destroy the world. So Commander Mason was like this general, but he wanted dominion over all the lands, but Calypso shrunk him down to the size of a playground sandbox in the end.
Damn.
Yeah, so it's like you like sandbox games, so better you be in a field where any dream is possible in the hands of children. And that was he wanted to conquer all the lands, and what better way to do it than to put in a child's imagination. And then there's Agent Stone, a special agent going head to head with the U.S. government in search of an item that could liberate the world. So like he wanted justice for the world where there was no crime, but once he saw that there was no crime in the world, he was left without a job. And he was stranded on a corner homeless in the streets of New York. Yeah, it was always a dark and twisted ending for some of the fates of the characters. Some actually saw, as long as, if it was something for the good of the world, you would see regret. But if it was for revenge, then you'll be satisfied. It's the type of mad genius Calypso is.
You know what's crazy, though, is, I always took joy and unlocking, doing these hard tasks to unlock characters. Now you just have to buy a battle pass and spend money, and you get the
you get the playable features.
It ain't the same
competition that it was inquired on unlocking these things before.
It's not the same type of gameplay either, because you took pride in unlocking certain characters other people couldn't get, or like playing the original Xbox or the 360. If you would play Gears of War or Halo or whatever on the hardest difficulty, Call of Duty, you'll get a tag or gamer score to show hey, look, I beat this on the hardest difficulty.
Right, yeah.
In older games, that's what was cool about it. And especially Twisted Metal, because you would
unlock a badge. I think a badge would appear whenever you log in to play it. It'll just show up on the side always because you beat the game and unlocked I think it was, I forget which Twisted Metal was, but Axel was an unlockable character.
Yeah.
And you can complete his storyline. I think it was Twisted Metal Black, if I'm not mistaken.
It's either 4 or Black. And then you got, when you beat one of them, you could unlock the different soundtracks where you could get the Rob Zombie soundtrack, Dig Through the Witches and Burn in the Ditches.
I think that was Twisted Metal 4, actually. That was on the PlayStation.
In the back of my Dracula. Yeah. Did everybody sing it like that? That's how I sing it. I mean, I used to slam when I was a kid.
I don't remember who Agent Amanda X is, but it says she's a woman leading a double life. She's competing for $1 million in cash. That may be Spectre.
Yeah, some of these are
changed.
That's just the base thing I found for the characters that I remember. So which we're finding out as we're reading this, that their characters are multi-dimensional and they change throughout the series.
Right,
is that the right terminology?
Yeah, that's the terminology of it. Yeah, Dave and Mike. They drove a stolen monster truck, 2 high school dropouts, and a collection of hard rock CDs. What could possibly go wrong? So I think Dave and Mike was Hammerhead, which drove a big monster truck.
Oh,
and, one of the specials was the loud music. It'll play the subwoofers. It was almost like comparison to it was in comparisons to Axel's Shockwave.
Yeah.
But the subwoofers would like do like a different amount of damage, and it would disorient any players within the vicinity of this special while it was happening. So you take on more damage, like it disrupts your vehicle, it shuts it down, then it just continuously rams you because of the subwoofer impact. It's weird. But you got Scott Campbell, who is a restless spirit who hopes Calypso contest can make him whole again. Captain Spears is an old army commando who lost men in a savage jungle war. He is competing in hopes of changing the past. And then there's Minion. Is the winner of the previous year's Twisted Metal contest. He is the final boss at the rooftop combat, the final battle, and he is not a playable character. So this is from Twisted Metal 1. Then you have John Doe, aka Roadkill. Can't remember who he is, what he did, or who he did it to. The only thing he knows is that his body is covered in tattoos, and that could possibly reveal the past to him. One day he's going to discover the truth, but will he like what he finds? So Roadkill's story, or John Doe, which is a tragic one, he was an FBI agent, and he went undercover with with the terrorist group to try to take them down from the inside. In change of who he forgot who he was, and he was trying to make the terrorist group a big name. But whenever he remembered who he was during the mission, they had planted a bomb in the center of health and disease, because he was saying like, okay, if we blow this place up, we'll be recognized all over the world, because who knows what type of diseases we'll release if we just blow this place up airborne 20-something years ago. But yeah, it's funny how they highlight John Doe in the series, because the way that he don't know who he is, what he done, how he got there. He went back to recover the bomb, but there wasn't enough time to disarm it, so he threw it out of a window, and the shock wave from the blast blasted him back to the wall, concussed his memory, and he woke up with amnesia, doesn't remember who he is. So Calypso goes in to try to help find out who he is, only to find out that he was an FBI cop who had done the job. And as he was remembering more of who he was, Calypso shot him 5 times in the chest. Cold, dead, and blood. And that's the way that series ended. Sad to say, man. And then you got... I'll let you read.
What are you talking about? I already read Axel.
Yeah,
you want
Axel.
to talk about Mr. Slam?
Well, yeah, Axel.
The disgruntled architect, fired from his job. Simon wanted to win Twisted Metal for the power to build a structure so grand that it would stretch to the gates of heaven. But what will be lurking behind those gates?
So, in the end, Mr. Slam, he had a little man's complex, to put it in layman's terms, but he had a little man's complex. He built the skyscraper that was so tall that it had exceeded all the heights of the other skyscrapers in the world. But he had got so self-conscious that maybe one day someone will build a skyscraper taller than his. He ended up building his skyscraper to the limit, like I want to say the lithosphere.
Yeah.
I forget what the limits of the atmosphere is on Earth, but yeah, if I'm not mistaken, but yeah, the outer edge of the Earth, he built his construct, his skyscraper. He was standing on the top of it saying how he was the king of the world, only to fall off of the edge of it, while the eagles were soaring past. But yeah, that's just some of the playable characters, and Twisted Metal definitely has like a deep storyline. It has like a lot of depth to it, and then with the TV series coming out, it kind of, I won't say generalize it because I haven't watched it yet, but it pretty much puts into perspective the main theme of what the viewers would get across if they were to watch something on a TV series.
And being a gamer and being, an avid gamer, y'all can see it in the background. I have hundreds and hundreds of video games that I don't play no more, but to see a company go out and do a good job with a video game idea is very impressive to me. And everybody knows I have, a Halo tattoo, and I was very disappointed in the way the Halo series finally came out after all the hype. And I mean, it was alright, but the way they did Twisted Metal and gave it a good platform and gave it a good watch, and from what it comes from, just basically killing and destruction and all types of stuff.
I believe it
It's
gained
good,
recognition from the right people, though, because overall they sold like 5 million copies, which...
Yeah, I mean, no, they made money.
Yeah, they made money from it, most definitely. It's like I've definitely put my hard-earned dollars into buying some Twisted Metal games, because that was definitely the theme of the anarchy side of...
Yeah, that's back when you would go and you could play the game. You could try it out on the little console in Walmart or whatever, or Target, wherever you shopped
Walmart, Target, Spears.
But you would buy it via disc, and it'd be $20. You buy a whole game with unlockable stuff, hidden features, you could get Game Shark. There was a whole bunch of cool hidden stuff about it. It's like incognito type of video game.
Yeah, different game codings that weren't actually mods, but it was like the beginning era mods where you can purchase modifications. Yeah, you could purchase modifications rather than nowadays where if you have a computer, you can emulate it. But
I guess what I'm really trying to get at is like when we played games back in the day, right? We bought a game. There was always some little hidden thing about it that you got for it. Either just playing it a lot, learning it, or finding a secret code, or like a little jumping point, like in Halo 2. You could crouch in this corner, run down this wall, and like high jump somewhere.
We should do an in-depth on Halo one day, but that's for another episode.
That's a good idea. I could talk hours on that.
You could talk hours on that shit, bro.
But it just seems like now you get a game, you pay, like the new Diablo's out. It's $70. I'm like, I'm not about to buy this game that's $70, and then you buy it for $70, and you just have to buy like a battle pass to get all the different... It doesn't meet
the expectations, because you end up investing more money into a game that
you've already
bought.
Gaming is all about money now. It ain't about the nostalgia of it. Because when we grew up, like, you could go, like, say you had some saved data on your PlayStation, you had your little memory card put in, but you might have something that, like, I might have unlocked something that you didn't unlock, or
you
vice
might have
versa.
Something saved on your memory card that I don't have saved.
Yeah.
That you plug your memory card in, it unlocks it on your game console. And then you could also transfer memory if you had 2 memory sticks. Like if you plug them both in, you go to the main screen. There was like the first wave of data transfer.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a mini floppy disk for a console. But the memory card was an essential add-on for the PlayStation, such as, the terabyte or the hard drive, if you will. And then the broadband connection, which were the wires that connected to dial-up and broadband at that time. Most people in the city had broadband. I'm sorry. Most people in the city had broadband, but like in the rural areas, they had dial-up. Yeah, it's like the loading error, like the 404 error sound going. Definitely need that on the sound clip. But shit, yeah, man, that's good stuff though, man. It's like that.
It's a whole bunch of cool information, and trying to be, hip, but also give some good knowledge about where it comes from. It didn't just appear out of nowhere. This
Twisted Metal touches home for me, because like as a kid, I grew up playing this game, and like some kids are like, I only came here because of the guy in the movie. It's like, man, you got to understand, like this was a whole era of just like different kind of destruction. It's like you get in a vehicle, you fuck somebody's shit up. Like you got the 2-player compatibility, like you had the battle.
Yeah.
Where it's like, the arena is like a little bit smaller, but it's like 4 to 8 characters. And it kind of reminds me of the Mario game, Mario Battle, with the 3 balloons. But except balloons, you got machine guns, you got specials, you got rockets, you got all type of special power-ups like speed boost. And you got all these things, and then you get your special bonus, and your special bonus is like your signature move. It's like if you're in a wrestling ring and you got a signature move, you jumping off at the top rope with a flashy elbow,
Or a frog splash.
or a frog splash, or a belly flop, or a stage dive. You know, you can definitely get some effectiveness done with the crowd to get them pretty hyped. So, yeah, Twisted Metal did their damn thing, man. I wish they could come back with another one, honestly, because I'd buy it. It's just like Crash Bandicoot to me. But that's another topic.
Well, let's, I guess.
Gotta close it out.
Yeah,
for the
we gotta.
folks.
So let's exit this Twisted Metal right quick. Yeah, that shit's still creepy as fuck, though.
I still buy ice cream, too. Like, try it. Try my cream in the cup.
Hey, don't worry about these big machetes and dead bodies back here. Just get, you want 1 scoop or 2 scoops?
Or a triple for your pleasure.
But we do have music for the week. The artist is out of Denver, Colorado.
Oh,
And,
nice.
their band is, 3420. And you see them on their handles, it's 3420, but the actual pronunciation of their name is
3420.
Yeah. So big shout out to them. We're gonna have them live in effect at Fet the Void 2023. So make sure y'all buy y'all's tickets, come out and see us, support everybody that's gonna be there, and yeah, y'all hear their song Tenacious right after these words of wisdom, and I'll dive right into it, Cleve.
Go for it.
My words of wisdom is to wake up every morning and be grateful that you woke up. Because I know a lot of times life is hard. You know, you got a lot of shit going on. You got a lot of things you got to do. You got a lot of responsibilities.
Oh, yeah.
And just take it day by day. And just be thankful that you're allowed to wake up, because there's a whole bunch of people that are dead in the graveyard that would hope they had one more day. So if this was your last day on earth, make sure it's a damn good day. It's my words of wisdom.
Yeah, that's pretty good words of wisdom. Mine kind of similar to Connect because, you know, it's like I went on vacation. It went pretty well overall. But to exclude on details, like my words of wisdom is just to... I may have said it before, but it's just like to persevere, you know, to endure the things that come your way. Be patient, be mindful. If you need to think 100 times, but if you're a special one, think 1,000 times, because it's important to understand common sense. It's important to understand outcomes and how they play into the factors of our decisions and the way we think and the way we talk and handle and conduct things that may affect ourselves, that may affect the others. Be mindful of those actions. So in the course of it all, just kind of excuse me, in the course, just redirect and progress.
Shit, yeah. But for Third Coast Podcast, I'm Joe. What it do, Gators?
And it's your host, Cleve, man. And thanks YouTube for having us here.
We'll holler at you later too.
We are out.